Hello, good evening. You're watching Awaz News. I'm Kubra Ali. Let's take a look at the top stories making headlines in Canada today.
Canada Post has laid off dozens of managers amid its restructuring plan and ongoing labor dispute with employees, a source confirmed to Awaz News. Canada Post also confirmed the layoffs in a statement to Awaz News, saying the company made the difficult decision to eliminate some positions but wouldn't provide specifics on how many employees were impacted. The development was first reported by the Toronto Star. Late last month, Government Transformation Minister Joel Lightbound announced major changes to Canada Post to address the existential challenges facing the corporation, calling it effectively insolvent. These changes included delivery standards for letter mail, lifting the moratorium on community mailbox conversions, and lifting the moratorium on rural post offices. The government also asked Canada Post to reduce its management and overhead cost by at least 15%. In response, the union, which represents about 55,000 members, announced an immediate nationwide strike while a protracted labor dispute was already ongoing. The union shifted to rotating strikes on October 9. The Crown Corporation and the union, meanwhile, are set to return to the bargaining table later this week, according to the Canadian press. Canada Post, meanwhile, says the corporation will be sharing our plan with the government in the next few weeks and that the company must take decisive action to deliver the services Canadians need in a way that is financially sustainable. The Israeli army launched a barrage of attacks in Gaza on Tuesday as tensions with Hamas grew 2 weeks into a fragile ceasefire, and the militant group responded by saying it would delay handing over the body of a hostage. At least 7 Palestinians were killed, health officials said. The flare-up of violence presented one of the biggest tests so far for the truce and had international mediators scrambling to prevent it from collapsing. U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance attempted to play down the fighting, saying he expected skirmishes to quickly die down. The order from Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to launch powerful strikes came after Israeli official said its forces were fired upon in southern Gaza and after Hamas handed over body parts on Monday that Israel said were the partial remains of the hostage recovered earlier in the war. Netanyahu called the return of these body parts a clear violation of ceasefire agreement, which requires Hamas to return the remaining hostages in Gaza as soon as possible. Israeli officials also accused Hamas of staging the discovery of these remains on Monday, sharing a 14-minute edited video captured by a military drone in Gaza. Israel notified the United States before launching the strikes on Tuesday, according to 2 U.S. officials who spoke on condition of anonymity to discuss sensitive matters. In Gaza City, at least 2 Palestinians were killed by strikes, according to Rami Hanna, the managing director of Shifa Hospital, where the bodies were taken. In Khan Yunis, an Israeli strike on a vehicle killed 5 Palestinians, including 2 children, according to Ahmed Al-Farad, the head of pediatrics at the Nasser Hospital, where the bodies were taken. Early in the day, Israeli troops were shot at the southern city of Rafah and returned fire, according to an Israeli military official who spoke on condition of anonymity because there hasn't been an official announcement yet. In a statement, Hamas denied involvement in the gunfire in Rafah and reiterated its commitment to the ceasefire. The violent strikes carried out by Israel across the Strip in a blatant violation of the ceasefire deal, said the group, calling on mediators to pressure Israel to stop. The U.S. Vice President expressed confidence that the ceasefire would hold. That doesn't mean there aren't going to be little skirmishes here and there, Vance told reporters on Capitol Hill. The ceasefire that began on October 10 has largely held despite at least 2 previous flare-ups in the violence. There are still 13 bodies of the hostages in Gaza. Hamas said Tuesday it had recovered the body of a hostage, but after Israel announced the plans to strike Gaza, Hamas said in a statement it would delay the handover. New images of two masked males who allegedly shot another man in St. Catharines have been released by Niagara police. The shooting occurred at approximately 10:20 p.m. on October 17 in the Vine Street on Old Pine Trail area. The 26-year-old victim suffered critical but not life-threatening injuries. The victim has transported to a trauma center for their wounds, according to a Niagara police press release. The suspects are described by police as wearing ski masks and sweaters. Investigators had previously released images of a gray sedan that they believe to be involved in the event, but now they say the dark gray sedan captured on video surveillance footage was not involved in this incident. Some first-time home buyers in Ontario could soon have tens of thousands of dollars on cost of a home under a proposal from the provincial government to rebate the HST, but opposition leaders say it is too unambitious amid a housing crisis. The Ontario government had previously signaled that if the federal government removed its portion of the harmonized sales tax for first-time buyers, the province would follow suit, and Finance Minister Peter Bethlenfalvy made the announcement Tuesday. The federal government proposed earlier this year to rebate the federal portion of the HST on new and substantially renovated homes valued up to $1 million for first-time home buyers. Ontario's provincial rebate will be in the next week's fall economic statement, Bethlenfalvy said. About $500 million over 3 years is being allocated to rebate, he said. While homes valued up to $1 million would qualify for the full rebate, there will be partial rebates on a phased-in basis for homes valued up to $1.5 million. Green Party leader Mike Schreiner said homes up to $1.5 million should qualify for the full rebate, so home buyers in Toronto and the surrounding area where housing tends to be more expensive can benefit. Municipal Affairs and Housing Minister Rob Flack said there are many homes available for under $1 million for people to be able to take advantage of the rebate. Liberal housing critic Adil Shamji said the government should have done as his party proposed earlier this year to introduce an HST rebate for all new primary residence purchases, not just for first-time home buyers. Ontario is behind its goals on housing starts, and Flack has started backing away from Premier Doug Ford's one much-touted target of building 1.5 million homes over 10 years. NDP leader Murray Stiles said there aren't many new homes for new home buyers to purchase. The government has given up on their commitment completely to build 1.5 million homes, she said. They don't even want to talk about any kind of targets. New condo sales dropped to a record low for a month of September, with just 53 units sold in Toronto last month, according to new data from Building Industry and Land Development Association. Citing data from Altus Group, Build said just 155 condo units were sold across the GTA last month, down 44% from September 2024 and 90% below the 10-year average. The report notes that across all segments, including condos and single-family homes, there were just 438 new home sales in the GTA last month, down 29% from September and 80% below the 10-year average. Of the sales last month, 283 were single-family homes, down 16% from the previous year and 61% below the average over the last decade. The report notes that remaining inventory in the GTA decreased slightly to 21,749 units due to very little new inventory being added, a trend which is expected to continue as market conditions persist. The benchmark price for new single-family homes slid down 8.2% over the last 12 months. Now is not time for half measures, Sherbet said. We are at a moment in time where we have the opportunity to avoid the consequences of this historic national housing downturn through bold action. He reiterated previous calls for other levels of government to step up and work with the sector to reduce the GST on all new homes as part of the both upcoming federal budget and province's fall economic statement. To do otherwise is an admission of acceptance that the loss of almost 100,000 jobs nationwide and acute affordability challenges in the coming years are acceptable outcomes, Sherbet said. Ontario Premier Doug Ford's government is moving to limit debate and avoid public input on 3 pieces of legislation, including one that would end the province's speed camera program. Government House Leader Steve Clark is fast-tracking a red tape reduction bill that includes banning speed cameras, a labor bill, and an emergency management bill. The government plans to stop any further debate at the second reading stage for the 3 bills. They entirely bypass the committee stage that usually follows, a time to hear from the public on the bill and make any amendments, and limit debate time for the final 3rd reading stage. Ford has been vocal over the past couple of months in his opposition to speed cameras, calling them a cash grab only meant to generate revenue for municipalities, but the communities themselves, as well as parents, police chiefs, and researchers at the hospital for sick kids have said they save lives and should stay. Clark said the ministers responsible indicated they were good with the debate that had already occurred in the House for second reading. The bills will still get some debate, Clark noted. On speed cameras and the red tape reduction bill as a whole, the Premier talked about speed cameras all summer and there has been spirited public debate, Clark said. NDP House Leader John Van Hoff stood in the legislature to read quotes from Clark when he was opposition House leader and decried similar moves by the government of the day, as he has done before when the progressive conservatives limit debate. But Van Hoff first said the government would not have to worry about scheduling it, had not waited until October 20th to have the legislature resume from its summer break. The government limited debate and committee time on numerous bills in the legislature's spring sitting, and Liberal parliamentary Leader John Fraser said it feels like Groundhog Day as the government already starts bypassing normal processes in week 2 of the fall sitting. More than 20 mayors from the across province have asked Ford to tweak the speed camera program instead of scrapping it entirely, but Ford quickly shut them down. Ford has said he doesn't believe speed cameras work to prevent speeding, saying traffic calming measures such as speed bumps, roundabouts, and big signs with the flashing lights are more effective. Data from several municipalities that have analyzed the effect of the cameras on traffic speeds, as well as different study from Sick Kids and Toronto Metropolitan University, show speeds are reduced. The red tape bill would also allow from greater movement of workers, largely in healthcare, between provinces and streamline the Clean Water Act. Toronto buses and streetcars were late nearly 40% of the time last month as the transit agency continued to deal with reduced ridership and financial challenges. A new report states the Toronto Transit Commission released a report from CEO Mandeep Lally on Tuesday stating its streetcars arrived as scheduled just 61% of the time in September, representing a 3% decrease from the same last year. The TTC states that a bus, streetcar, or subway is considered on time if the vehicle departs at or up to 5 minutes after the scheduled departure time. The TTC's target is 90% on-time performances. The report stated that on-time performance for buses also fell below expectations at 74% in September, while buses had on-time performance rate of 82% in the same period last year. The TTC subway system reached its target with an on-time performance rate of 91%. The TTC wrote in the report that the average speed and reliability decreased in September for buses and streetcars due to worsening traffic congestion and operational slowdowns. The report said low ridership is due to several factors, including fewer international post-secondary students, inclement weather, and a softer than expected economic environment. The report showed that customer satisfaction with the TTC was down in September at 68% compared far below the agency's 84% target. Before the pandemic, customer satisfaction was at 83%. The TTC report stated that several factors will help improve the challenges it's currently facing, including increased demand as more people return to in-person work and increased fare compliance strategies.
Thank you for watching Awaz News. I'm Kubra Ali. See you tomorrow, same channel, same time. Have a good night.